All right, for our next segment, I want to bring up Jeffrey Schmelkin and Ryan Hudzik and their role in Untitled Time. So let's have Jeffrey here and Ryan here, and let's talk. And we have a new addition to our show. He's going to help us with the technical aspects. Let's give it up for Steven. I was very impressed. I read about Jeffrey, 19-year-old Hofstra student, and his production, Untitled Time. And just to give you an idea, Untitled Time, what is going to be your role? What are the many hats you'll be wearing during this production?
So, because this is not a very small, but a fairly small production in Manhattan. It's at a theater festival, Midtown International. You have to do everything essentially yourself. So I do have an amazing director. I have a co-music director. I have an amazing casting director. But other than that, I had to do everything. So I composed it. I wrote words, all that. I'm also treasurer and producer and stage manager, all this stuff. But we actually have one of our cast members with us, and they just make everything go so much faster and so much easier because they're just so talented.
All right, Ryan Hudzik, you're going to be the lead role. So talk about the experience of being the lead role in Untitled Time.
Well, it is certainly one of the darker roles that I've had to play in the past, because this show covers a very needed to talk about topic about mental health and tragedy and the resources that are available to help cope with those kinds of problems, and to step into the shoes of someone who Jeffrey so wonderfully kind of laid out on the page is, I would say, nothing short of an honor, but also a really big challenge nonetheless.
Now, Jeffrey, let's go to the very beginning. Let's talk about what motivated you and your inspiration and your personal experiences for writing this play.
Well, really this show started when I was in 7th grade. I started writing it as a novel, and then just as time went on, I sort of turned it into a musical, but 7th grade was really a very hard time in, I think, a lot of people's lives, especially mine. I had a lot of things going on in school, here and there, and I was feeling very lonely, very isolated. And so this show is really about what happens to someone when they have depression, and how that affects everyone around them. So I really wanted to bring light to that idea. I know that there are a lot of things on Netflix and Broadway and things right now that are going on, bringing light to the idea. But what makes this a little bit different is that it focuses in less on the story about it, and more on really how it affects you and just the raw aspect of depression that a lot of people don't want to see. I really wanted to show people that this is a legitimate issue that we need to address.
Talk about how this play deals with not only depression, but anxiety and suicide, and the struggles that a young man goes through dealing with, such emotional issues like this play brings out.
Well, I think that because the show touches on things like suicide, it really brings the audience into a world that they might not have otherwise been in. And like I said before, it really just rips away all of the things that society and social whatever stigma around all these topics. So I really just wanted to show what really is happening.
Excellent. Now, Ryan, you're an experienced actor. You've been in several plays. Talk about the challenge of being the lead in such a dark role, dealing with such serious issues. What's it like for you tackling such serious issues, such a dark role? What's that experience been like?
I think the biggest challenge that I've personally faced within this rehearsal process has been, not only getting into the world that is this production, but I would say of how densely laid out the material is. Like Jeffrey said, it's not sugar-coated, this musical. In fact, it's very piled on, and it shows a very detailed experience of one individual. So I think that has been the hardest part for me it's sort of like every rehearsal, it's like a gigantic wave of like tragic emotion, like 2 hours a night. But I know that, at the end of the day, after rehearsal's over, we know that we're telling a story that needs to be told, and I think that's that's been the most important part to realize for me, so I don't get stuck in like this character.
Absolutely. Let's talk about the fact that this play is meant to really raise awareness to people who are going through a very dark period. Talk about that aspect of it, that this play can really raise awareness to someone in a very dark place in their life.
Well, there will be in the audience two different types of people generally. There are going to be the people that have experienced this, and for them it'll be more of like I can see now that I'm not the only one going through this. But I really wanted to focus on the other part of the audience that's going to be people who haven't experienced this. I wanted to just give them a little window into what it's like living with depression and dealing with loss and dealing with your personal depression, how it affects those around you. So I really wanted to just make it very almost accessible for those who may not have had to deal with this in the past.
One aspect, and one thing I'd like to do as my role as the host of the show, is I like to meet some of the people who are going to be guests before we meet. And one aspect which I was totally blown away is that you're also the casting director. And there's four...
May I add something? I worked with the casting director. Her name is Samantha Khan. She's awesome.
All right, okay, but you talked about there was 40 actors that tried out for 4 roles.
Yes.
Talk about that process of whittling down to 4 actors from 40, and the process of selecting the 4, and all the factors laid into it that would come to the final conclusion of selecting the 4.
All right, so first we had general video auditions that we had everyone sent in a video, and then from there we called a few of them back. So all 40 of them were absolutely incredible. I think getting to what your question is, how do you pick 4 of the 40? And it's not about like who's like talented enough, because the thing is they're all talented enough. They're all amazing, and it was in the casting room. It was such a hard decision, but it really came down to who can we work with that would create like a good dynamic for this show specifically. Who could we see as this role or as this role? It wasn't talent, because everyone had the talent. It was who did we as a casting team, who did we feel could portray this aspect the best?
Awesome. Now, Ryan, talk about the chemistry, because I'm sure you've been in plays where there's been some issues, some drama. Talk about the chemistry between you and the other actors in this particular play.
I would say that between the four of us, although we haven't all been assembled in the same room very often, the majority of us are in the room at the same time. And none of us have known each other before we started the show. And I can personally say, on the record, that I personally enjoy each and every one of them so much. Like I said, we're telling a very, very dark story, a very heavy story, and it helps that at the end of the day, we'd be able to go from character A, B, and C, and just be Ryan, Andrea, and Michaela afterwards, and be friendly, and we've gotten to know each other, and I'm really thankful I've, made these friends, because I really couldn't imagine telling the story with anybody else. I'm really thankful for that.
All right, now you can look out into the camera. Tell people looking at this video why they should go and see this play.
I think that you should come see Untitled Time because it is a story that highlights what it means to deal with loss, and it really shows how people cope in different ways, and it really will help make the stigma that is mental health in a way destigmatized. And I think that's very important in today's day and age. It's really important to raise awareness with the issue that's been so prevalent and so not talked about. To talk about it now, I think, is better late than never.
Very well said. And Jeffrey, last but not least, and most importantly, not most importantly, but how can people get tickets for the show, and exactly where and when and what days will the show be running?
All right, so Untitled Time will be at the Midtown International Theater Festival at the Workshop Theater's main stage on 312 West 36th Street. You can buy tickets at Jeffrey Schmelkin, that's JeffreySchmelkin.com, and there's a huge button in the middle that says buy tickets. So make sure you get their tickets because they will sell out.
All right, and Rocco and I will be there on August 5th. We're looking forward to it, and I'm real excited to see you guys perform together, because you'll be on the piano, you'll be singing, and what's it like with Jeffrey on the piano and you sing? What's that experience like?
Oh, it's just fantastic. A lot of times in musical theater, I find it very, it's like walking a tightrope when you're singing with a pianist, because you don't really know like what they can or can't do. But I can really say that Jeffrey is one of the most amazing piano players and composers that I've ever gotten the pleasure to work with, and I've never felt more safe in the hands of such a brilliant composer and musician.
And Jeffrey, what would you say about Ryan's singing ability?
Oh, yeah, he's just amazing. I actually worked with him on a production last year, and just his voice stuck in my head. Just since that production, I was like, I want to work with him again. It was really funny. Short story. I was going through audition videos at home, and I was watching his, and then my mom walks by, and she's like, "Oh my God, who is that?" And I was like, "This is Ryan. I worked with him in the past." It's just honestly such an honor to work with him, because he can give notes, and as a composer, it's really cool because I can change things here and there in the music, and he'll just go right with it. And it's just really just amazing to work with them, as well as the rest of the cast too. I say the same thing about them.
All right, awesome. All right, so Untitled Time, coming to New York City. Ryan Hudzik, Jeffrey Schmelkin, thanks for sharing, and we look forward to this amazing play.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.